We're going over system translations. Number 26, annulment to the society. From Article 680, the Baal Shem Tov's method of annulment, from the book Delgota Sulam, Kitvei Rabash, by Rabash. In order to annul the body, the method was performed through afflictions. There is a second way, which is by annulment to the Rav, which is the issue of make for yourself a Rav. The meaning of make means by force, without any scrutiny. And just like the afflictions annul the body by action and without scrutiny, so is the annulment to the Rav done by force and without scrutiny. This means that even in a situation that he does not agree with the opinion of his Rav, he still annuls himself, his Torah and his work, and arrives to the Rav for guidance. There is a guidance in the discernment of the collective, which is called surrounding light, where the light shines only from the outside. This is without speaking, but rather by coming to the Rav, sitting in front of him, and sitting at his table during the meal or at the time of prayer. There is a second discernment, which is the discernment of internality, and this is precisely by mouth to mouth. What do you think?
Discernment of internality is done by oral communication?
Yeah, by cleaning concepts. And the reason you have to clean concepts is because mouth to mouth means that they both have the same language to talk to each other. That they know, the branches and the roots.
And Zakai, what does really means make for yourself a Rav?
So the idea is, what it's talking about here is that there's two ways to be in a society. There's one way is by annulling yourself to the society, and the other way is by using the society. So the discernment of the collective is to be sort of passive with the society. That means that you annul to the society. While the second discernment of internality is when you're active, you actually want to advance, you actually use the society. You sort of learn the language, you clean your concepts and advance accordingly. Because you care about the internality. One of the differences between the collective guidance and the second, and the sort of individual guidance, is that the collective guidance is considered a circle. And what's the idea of a circle? That in spirituality, a circle means that it has no discriminations, which also means no advancement. A line represents advancement because you've got a line is the idea that you've got something which is higher and something which is lower. So therefore you've got a path to go from the lower to the higher. So in a circle, the idea is that there is no advancement. It's just you annul to the circle you're in. You come into a circle and you annul to it. Well, with the line, when you come into the line, you're joining with the line to actually advance and get somewhere in the end, and not just to annul and become the circle.
What are the benefits of being in the circle versus the line?
The circle requires less work. The circle is more of a passive experience. It doesn't require you to have any responsibility. It's more like a slave mentality, the circle. The line represents more of a master mentality, where you've got a goal and you actually want to reach it, while the idea is that the slave doesn't actually have a goal. He just annuls in the environment he's in and does what he's told. But he's not doing it in order to actually reach anything. So for example, in the society, you've got the Rav, you've got the teacher, and you've got the students. And it's a circle when the students never want to become the teacher. So you basically have a circle of students where they're all equal, and there's no desire in any of them to actually reach the Rav's degree. Well, with the line, there's actually a line from the individual all the way to the Rav to actually reach his degree.
So in regards to advancement, where the goal is advancement, there's no benefit to be in a circle.
Exactly. One of the other differences between the circle and the line, in Talmud Sirot, Balasalam talks about it, that in the circle, the less coarseness you have, the better. That is, the less ego you have, the better off, the easier you can sort of annul to the circle. So the more egoism you have, the harder it is for you to actually annul to the circle. And the less egoism you have, the easier it is for you to annul to the circle and enjoy its reward. But with the line, it's the other way around. The more coarseness you have, the more chance you have of advancement. And the less coarseness you have, the less chance you have of advancement. So you can see the total inversion of importance of coarseness between the circle and the line. In the circle, coarseness is considered inferior, while in the line, it's considered superior.
And Zakai, so now to the have without any scrutiny, it means you're doing some kind of affliction. That's
yeah. So what it's saying, why did people have to do afflictions? Because the idea was to basically reduce the thinking process of the person. Right? When someone's in affliction, it's harder for them to think. So the idea is the afflictions just reduced the expression of the ego, and it reduced the mind. So there's two ways to reduce the mind. You can either by doing body afflictions, or by aligning yourself to a society and doing what other people think for you, basically. Well, with yeah, sorry, go for it.
No, I was going to ask: does mouth to mouth seem? It seems to imply more than just communication. It seems to imply a spiritual interaction.
Yeah, well, you have to have adhesion in the language, right? If you're sort of, let's say, coming to system concepts and you don't agree with the basic concepts, it's going to be very hard for you to advance. If you don't agree with classes and phases and so forth, then what is there to actually talk about? So the idea of mouth to mouth, you could say potential mouth and actual mouth. So potential mouth is basically when you're before the barrier and you're trying your best to learn the concepts and sort of align yourself to the advancement. And then when you actually cross the barrier, that's when you're considered actually mouth to mouth, where you're actually experiencing the situations. And then you can actually share and sort of work with the teacher, with more experiences and less just intellectual ideas. You actually do the advancement itself instead of the potential advancement.
Quick question. This is Cedric. So if I'm using the line, that means that I don't need the group?
You need the group, but you're using the group.
Okay. Got it.
What is the difference between annulling to a group and using a group? Annulling to a group is, what is your goal? Is for you to no longer exist and only the group to exist. That's what annulment means. But when you're using the group, what is your goal? To actually become strong and grow and become powerful. So the goal of annulment, which is the circle, and the goal of using, which is a line, are the total opposite. The goal of the circle is to become nothing, and the goal of the line is to become everything.
Why would you want to become nothing?
Well, it's easier to become nothing when you are nothing. It's when you become
that's not
something
purpose creation.
that you want to become everything. Most people want to live in a slave mentality. It's very comfortable. We've talked about this before, that when someone joins a society with cultish behavior, who forces them to be in the cult? It's the person. It's not the cult itself. And we see this, that someone can be, let's say, in a cult for 30 years, right? And then suddenly snaps out of it. Why did he suddenly snap out of it? It's not that he's seeing the terrifying things in the cult, because there are many people that have been seeing the atrocities for years and didn't do anything about it and didn't think about it to any kind of depth. And then suddenly they're released from, that hold on them. And then suddenly they're like, oh my God, it's a cult. And they try to leave. But there's two things here. One, the reason why they leave is because the surrounding light no longer shines on them from the outside. What does that mean? The surrounding light represents a promising future. Right? It's like hope. Hope is surrounding light. And the idea is that, say, for example, I promise you $1 million if you work for me for 10 years. So in those 10 years, the more you have hope in me that I'll give you the $1 million, the more you'll enjoy yourself in those 10 years. And when you finally reach the 10 years, it doesn't really matter if I actually give you the money or not from a surrounding light perspective. Right? Because if I actually give you the money, then it's already, in tonality, it's like I've actually given it to you. Right? So the hope is just dealing with this future promise. And every cult promises a future, a better future. But they don't actually implement it. Right? And that's why it's a surrounding light. So the idea is that what causes a person to suddenly give up on that surrounding light, on that future promise? When their egoism grows. So when their egoism grows to a level higher than the surrounding light that society is giving, that is sort of, he's outgrown the slave degree of that society. Right? So for example, if someone is in a society that the maximum the surrounding light can give that person is 2.2, when they reach 2.3, the surrounding light can no longer affect them since their egoism is higher than the surrounding light can affect the person. And therefore they feel that sort of disorientation of like, I don't understand why am I not advancing? They're suddenly like awakened from their slumber. And they're like, oh, how do I advance? And they, eat themselves up. And, we talk about 2.3 as obstinate desires. So what releases them from that slavery to that certain degree is that their egoism has grown. And then the surrounding light of that degree can no longer help them. They'll help other people, but not them.
And Zakai, from where they got this idea, this concept of surrounding light? Is this the same return light or Jose light?
No. The surrounding light is a future promise. Reflected light is actual power of, we say reflected light is the idea of causality. It's the total opposite of surrounding light. Reflected light is where you're taking causality over reality. Surrounding light is when you're allowing somebody else to do it for you. Normally in the society, they tell you, we will help you reach a better future. Just do what we tell you to do. And you don't have to think. You don't have to do anything. Just feel, they say. Right? The surrounding light is something you feel. You don't think about it. And the idea is that you basically do what you're told, and you basically get the feeling of a promising future.
So they created this surrounding light, or this kind of, what's
the surrounding light is by a promise. If, for example, I promise you, Caesar, let's say I say to you, Caesar, if you do A, B, and C for me, you will get D. Right? You do something for me, you'll get something back. The more there is distance between what I promised you and when you get it, right? That sort of defines if it will be surrounding light or not. So if you say, can I have a pen? And I'm like, the pen costs $3. You give me $3, I give you the pen, right? Then that's not, the surrounding light is very minimal. The surrounding light was basically between the promise of that by you giving $3, you'll get the pen, right? So once you did it, it was over. Surrounding light was over. But it could be that, you said to me, can I have your book? And I'm like, yeah, it's going to be released in a year. You're like, fine, you give me, you pay for the book, before it's ready. Suddenly it's late, it takes 5 years to release the book. In the end, the book is released, you get it. So you had 5 years of surrounding light. Well, if in the middle you suddenly said, oh, that book is never going to be printed, I want my money back, and you might not be able to get, let's say, your money back. But the idea is that when you are no longer interested in waiting that time, that is considered that you've stopped the surrounding light from shining on you. And one of the interesting things in these kind of societies, at the beginning they start with saying that they promise you that you will sort of become wiser and wisdom, and they promise you the wisdom. But then what happens is the more you integrate into the society, they start telling you that the less you think, the better you'll feel. And that's one of the signs to show that it's surrounding light and not internality, because with internality, you actually you grow in the wisdom, not reduce it. You think more with your mind, not less. You scrutinize more, not less. So if the scrutiny goes down in a society, you know that they're basing themselves on surrounding light. But if the scrutiny grows in the society, then you understand that they're working with internal light, not surrounding light. Yeah, I think we'll stop here and enter the after party.